Hello, my name is Yianni Rowlands, and today I'm going to show you my process for making a stop motion animation. A lot of these skills also transfer across filmmaking and other forms of animation as well. So I hope everyone can take something away from this. So the first thing you want to do is make sure your idea is achievable. And if you don't have an idea yet, don't worry, because neither do I. But before I start brainstorming, I'm going to set some constraints. One location, one shot, one character. Now, that might sound limiting at first, but constraints can actually help you focus and make something better. For example, with my film Chess People, I'd originally envisaged it to be this big adventure film, but in realizing how long this would take, I eventually shrunk it down and decided to set it all in one location that I could build on my bedroom table. That meant I could spend all my time making that one space look awesome and really focus on telling a good little story as well. I definitely recommend trying to work within these constraints for your first animation too. Now, when I'm stuck with my story, I always find it can help changing the question from what is my story about to who is my story about? When coming up with a character, I usually sketch ideas first, but sometimes it's more fun to just start sculpting and see what happens. But the cool thing about animation is you can use almost anything. I'm being pretty traditional and using some leftover plasticine that I had lying around my house. So after a bit of sculpting, I made this little guy. Close up. Now I need to figure out what's he going to do. So how about we find him an object to play with? Because there's nothing more fun and perhaps dangerous than a new toy. So when searching around my house earlier, I found an old pencil amongst my things, which happens to be the perfect size for him. So now we can brainstorm, what can he do with this pencil? Maybe it's a sword, maybe he draws with it, maybe he spins it, tosses it, balances it. Those are all fun ideas, but stories get interesting when something goes wrong. Maybe he hurts himself. Maybe he breaks something. Now we're finding the story. We meet the character, he finds the pencil, he plays with it, and accidentally hurts himself. I've storyboarded a few key moments, but I find it's important to leave room for discovery as well, because sometimes when you animate, the character almost starts telling you what they want. And if drawing isn't your thing, you can write out your story as well, or even film yourself acting out the moments in the story. And these can be great reference when you start animating as well. Now it's time to set your stage, or what I like to call finding your nook. You want a space where you can settle in for a few hours and control the lighting, and it doesn't need to be big. I animated my Trop Jr films on a bedroom shelf, and Chess People was animated, as I said, on my bedroom desk. So a few important things for your workspace. You need a sturdy surface that won't shift to animate on. You need to be able to reach your character without bumping the camera. And you need to be able to control the natural light. Natural light changes over time, as we know, and if the lighting changes between frames, the animation can flicker. Today I'm using the corner of my kitchen bench because I like the contrast between the orange wall and the white wall. And it's also good to create depth in your frame so the shot doesn't feel flat. So this gives me a great little corner to point my camera into as well. For the camera, you want it completely still. I'm filming on my phone on Stop Motion Studio. And I've mounted my phone using blobs of plasticine, which wasn't perfect. So I would recommend a more sturdy tripod if you can get your hands on one, like these examples here. For lighting, I'm using just a warm house lamp. A good trick is to diffuse it or bounce it so the lighting feels softer and more appealing. You can drape fabric over the lamp, but I prefer to bounce the light off a white surface. For example, this top of a cardboard box I found lying around, which I have taped onto the stool so it doesn't shift. Usually I place my key light slightly to the side so the character has a bit more shape and dimension. Pulling your character away from the wall slightly can make a huge difference as well. Wipe away any dust or crumbs off the surface of your workspace. Turn off any fans or things that might affect your character's movement, and make sure your phone's plugged in because you don't want it running out while you're shooting. Once everything's set up, choose your frame rate. I usually animate at either 12 or 24 frames per second. Okay, I think we're ready to animate. So let's start with the basics. Stop motion works by photographing tiny movements one frame at a time. You position your character or object, take a photo, move it slightly, then take another photo, and repeat. When you play these images back in sequence, they should create the illusion of movement. Let's quickly go over a few animation principles. These are things that you'll develop over time with more practice, so don't expect to nail them first try. Basically, rule of thumb is the more frames and smaller movements of an object, the slower it will go, and the fewer frames and the bigger movements of an object moving, the faster it'll speed by. And usually you'll use a mix of both things, as you can see right here, with a ball slowing to a stop. Push the actions a little bit further than real life, or a lot further. Bigger movements are often more entertaining to watch, and just give the characters and objects a bit more energy too. So one form of exaggeration is squashing and stretching. What it is squashing and stretching an object so they feel like they have weight and energy. When I started animating, I felt like I needed to move the character for every frame, and you don't need to do that. Sometimes holding still for a moment after a big action actually makes the animation feel better. And this is something you can work on in the edit as well. You can copy and paste frames to hold a pose longer too. So there are a few different ways of animating dialogue. Sometimes voices are recorded first, so you can animate to them. But for simple dialogue, you can also record it afterwards, which is what I did in my film. To animate speech, we break down words into different mouth shapes, as you can see here, that represent different sounds, just to make it easier. You can sculpt different mouth positions directly into your character, or you can create replacement mouths that swap in and out for the different sounds. Since my character only says one word, I only needed a few mouth shapes, and as you can see, I made them a tiny bit versatile so I could use them for multiple emotions and sounds. When I animate, I constantly play back the shot to check how it's feeling, check the smoothness of it. I use the onion skinning tool to see the previous frame, which helps me track the movement and make sure I haven't overshot it or undershot it. Always make sure the camera stays focused on the character's face. So before I take each frame, I tap on the character's face, then take your frame. All right, jumping into post-production. After about 2.5 hours of animating, I watched the whole thing back multiple times. I copied and pasted frames where I wanted more pauses, and I actually changed the frame rate from 24 to 18 because it was feeling a bit too fast overall, and I just felt like it played better at 18 FPS. Make sure to do this before you do any sound. I made that mistake and it all went out of sync, so make sure to get your speed right before you start recording sound. I also erased a few support pieces I used during my animation, which I'll explain further after you've watched the film. Then it was time for sound. One of the great things about Stop Motion Studio is that you can do basically everything inside the app. I recorded the character's voice in the app and used sound effects from the library. My tip with the sound effects is use them for how they sound, not what they're called. For example, I used the ones labeled punch and door for lots of different movements and impacts because they're incredibly versatile. If you want more flexibility, you can also edit and record sound in programs like GarageBand, iMovie, DaVinci Resolve, or Premiere Pro, for example, as well. And after all that, here's the finished film.
Hello. Oh. Ha. Ha ha. Oh.
All right, let's go through a few tricks that I've included in my little animation. I wanted to avoid the character walking just because I couldn't be bothered doing a walk cycle. So I started him as a bouncing ball that then transformed into the character, which sounds more complex, but in fact, it's a lot more straightforward than you think. So this is directly using the squash and stretch technique. When the ball jumps through the air, I've actually used little supports, which are just darker bits of plasticine. And since they only appear for a couple of frames, most people wouldn't even notice them. But in Stop Motion Studio, you can actually erase these. So I had a go at doing that as well. For the character blinking, I swapped the eyes out for skin-colored pieces of plasticine for 1 or 2 frames and then went back to the eyes. Tiny details like blinking can just make the character feel so much more real, so I highly recommend having a play with that. Now, when the pencil falls into his hand, I held it just outside the frame for one shot, then attached it to his hand for the next shot. And basically your brain connects the movement automatically. Notice how his hand also bounces back slightly when he catches it just to sell that weight. Now the pencil spinning looks complicated, but it's actually just 2 repeating positions. And you just keep repeating that, and when you play it back, it looks like it's spinning. Now, when he throws it into the air and it's still spinning in the air, obviously we can't make things float and pause them in time. But what's great is since it's in front of his face, you can just stick it onto his face and keep animating it, and it just looks like it's flown into the air. Now, when I was planning the film, I didn't even think he'd fall over or react when the pencil hit him. But I knew that I'd sort of get to that point and get a bit of a feel by then of what this character's like. When I got to that point, it just felt like the right thing to do and added just a little bit of comedy to the piece as well. All of these little tricks can be useful not just in stop motion, as I said, but in filmmaking and storytelling in general. So I hope you've learned something today. Best of luck making your award-winning films, and thanks so much for watching. Happy animating.